In an era long past, there existed a rigid belief that a woman's worth hinged solely on her ability to bear children within the initial years of marriage. This archaic notion, however, stands in stark contrast to the progressive values of modern society. Regrettably, remnants of this outdated mindset still linger, perpetuating the harmful stereotype that a woman's purpose rests solely in her ability to conceive and give birth. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ashley, a 25-year-old homemaker. Despite my tender age, I find myself unable to conceive. My journey has been marred by physical frailty since childhood, rendering me frequently absent from school due to illness. The consequence of my fragile constitution left me withdrawn, with pallid skin and a slight frame, a stark contrast to the vibrant health of my elder sister, Emily, who garnered all the affection and attention from our parents. Emily, a year my senior, embodied the epitome of vitality with her cherubic cheeks and enchanting gaze. Meanwhile, I languished in the shadow of my siblings' robustness, deemed by my parents as a defective entity, a burden they wished would soon be lifted. Their affections lavished solely upon Emily, I was relegated to the sidelines, a mere afterthought in their eyes. In times past, there persisted a belief: a woman who could conceive after 3 years of marriage was deemed worthless. Such notions now appear woefully outdated in the context of modern society. It's a regressive mindset, one that sadly endures, where some still harbor the assumption that all women should and will bear children, stigmatizing those unable to do so as worthless. My name is Ashley. I'm a 25-year-old housewife, incapable of conceiving. My journey has been fraught with frailty since childhood, rendering me frequently sickly and weak. With little physical vigor, school often eluded me, leaving me isolated and shy, with pallid skin and a slender frame. My parents regarded me as defective and despised my existence, showering affection solely upon my older sister Emily, who, unlike me, enjoyed robust health with rosy cheeks and luminous eyes. I too possessed large eyes, though my frailty cast them in a sickly light. Amidst our affluent upbringing, my parents doted solely on Emily, indulging her every whim while I languished in neglect. Left behind on family excursions due to my frail health, I remained an outsider, deprived of familial mementos. It was a torment, being deemed defective by those who should have offered solace. With no friends to confide in, loneliness became my constant companion. Upon reaching adulthood, my parents swiftly arranged my marriage to Kevin, who received a sizable sum in exchange for caring for a weak, infertile spouse like me. Kevin, ensnared in financial woes, wed me for financial gain. As a full-time housewife, I'd often pondered his true intentions, for he returned home late and inebriated, showing no semblance of affection. You should count yourself fortunate, they'd remind me, echoing my parents' sentiments of worthlessness due to infertility. Yet, despite years of marriage, the prospect of pregnancy remained elusive, a poignant reminder of my perceived inadequacy. Despite the cold treatment from my husband Kevin, there was a beacon of warmth in my married life. It came in the form of my father-in-law, brother-in-law, and his wife, who showed me kindness. My father-in-law, having known me since my marriage at the tender age of 20, embraced me as his own daughter. Meanwhile, my brother-in-law Mike and his wife Maria extended genuine concern towards me, with Maria's care shining particularly bright. Ashley, you need not conform to others' expectations like a lifeless doll, Mike, employed in a reputable firm, would often remind me. Maria, juggling her own career and managing her interior design office, exuded boundless warmth and cheer. Her caring nature prompted her frequent visits to check up on me, recognizing my solitude and loneliness. What began as simple tea sessions and chats evolved into meaningful lessons and guidance. Consider pursuing the qualification, even if it's a hobby, Maria encouraged me. Initially disheartened by my lack of formal education, I expressed my doubts. Sensing my despondency, Maria offered sage advice. Mastering basic household tasks is a foundation for tackling anything. Learning breeds confidence. Inspired by Maria's words, I embarked on studying for a color certification, a step towards newfound skills and self-assurance. Little did I know, my father-in-law had sought counsel from Mike and Maria regarding my well-being, a testament to their unwavering support. Ashley has a tendency to underestimate herself. It's crucial to find a way to boost her confidence, remarked my father-in-law thoughtfully. Introducing her to new areas of study could be a catalyst, Maria chimed in, her voice brimming with optimism. Mike and my father-in-law readily embraced her suggestion. Though my parents had often deemed me weak and slow-witted, I discovered a newfound joy in learning. With each certification exam I conquered during my spare moments, a glimmer of confidence illuminated my spirit. Passing those tests brought me immense joy, shattering the belief that I was incapable of achieving anything. Eager to delve deeper into my studies and reach greater heights, I shared my aspirations with Kevin, only to be met with derision. Must be nice to indulge in useless studying. Kevin's dismissive words no longer pierced me with their usual sting. Instead, they ignited a flame of anger within me, unleashing years of suppressed emotions. Is that the sentiment one expresses when living off his wife's family's wealth? I retorted, a departure from my usual submissive demeanor. Caught off guard by my uncharacteristic sarcasm, Kevin recoiled, his facade of dominance crumbling in the face of truth. Shut up. I'm nothing like you, a defective product. I'll make something of myself. Kevin's words echoed through the room, laden with anger and defiance. Unfazed by his outburst, I retorted, they say big mouths like yours are all talk. Enraged by my defiance, Kevin lashed out, kicking the wall before storming out, likely seeking solace in drink and revelry. Reflecting on my predicament, I couldn't help but rule my parents' choice of partner for me. Yet their disregard for their frail daughter hinted at their flawed judgment. Marrying Kevin proved to be a grave error, aligning me with a man who squandered my family's wealth for his own pleasure. Ironically, it was Kevin's own family that offered me newfound perspective. Following the confrontation, Kevin vanished for days, presumably with my sister Emily. Despite knowing of their affair, I remained passive, for my parents' unwavering favoritism towards Emily allowed the illicit relationship to persist. Emily, having relinquished custody of her child after divorce, still basked in my parents' affection, a fact that facilitated her clandestine liaison with Kevin. The intentions of my parents, Emily and Kevin, were glaringly evident to me. It seemed they were orchestrating a scenario where Kevin would eventually divorce me. If Emily were to conceive, my parents would undoubtedly prioritize her desires over my well-being. Anticipating the inevitable day when my sister would abscond with my husband, I steeled myself, confident in my ability to withstand the impending storm. Some time later, we convened at my father-in-law's residence. While I maintained regular visits, Kevin's absence from his family home had become conspicuous. Consumed by pride, Kevin incessantly measured himself against his brother Mike, a graduate of a prestigious university now employed by a major corporation. Though neither my father-in-law nor Mike ever addressed this disparity, Kevin harbored a deep-seated sense of inadequacy. Initially, Kevin had taken pride in marrying into wealth, viewing me as a symbol of his ascent. However, my father-in-law remained indifferent to his son's status, showering affection upon me while adopting a stern demeanor towards Kevin. Though he lavished praise upon Maria, Mike's wife, for her accomplishments, beneath the veneer of admiration lay a simmering jealousy towards his brother's life. Maria is truly remarkable, successful in her career, a devoted mother, and an accomplished woman. Ashley, on the other hand, lacks intelligence and competence, Kevin would remark, thinly veiling his flattery towards Maria with insults directed at me. Though Maria appeared visibly perturbed by his words, she gracefully brushed off Kevin's disparaging remarks. Ashley is my sister as well, and I find it unacceptable when she's insulted, Maria asserted firmly, her tone brooking no argument. Mike, nodding in solidarity, echoed her sentiment. Kevin, before comparing Maria and Ashley, consider your own actions, Mike cautioned, his words laced with concern. With a dismissive click of his tongue, Kevin's immaturity became glaringly apparent, leaving me feeling profoundly embarrassed. My father-in-law, his gaze clouded with bitterness, had always treated his sons equally. Yet their disparate paths had left him disheartened. Though he had confided his frustrations to me in the past, today he found his voice, reproaching Kevin sternly. Have you no shame, Kevin, relying on Ashley's family wealth while shirking your responsibilities? Ashley is a devoted wife. If you're to be a husband, you must learn to support yourself. It's a simple concept, he admonished, his words tinged with disappointment. Flushed with anger, Kevin retorted defensively, Dad, Ashley was useless, a burden. I'm merely returning the favor. Mike, speaking on behalf of his father, delivered a cutting blow. Kevin, as your brother, I'm compelled to tell you, your mindset is toxic. Normally quick to anger, Kevin's response was met with a rare silence, broken only by his cursing and abrupt departure. As I moved to intervene, my father-in-law held me back with a heavy sigh. "I'm sorry, Ashley. I had hoped marriage would instill in him a sense of responsibility, but it seems that's not the case." With weary shoulders, Mike and Maria slumped beside my father-in-law, mirroring his heavy sigh. Quietly, I lowered my head, preparing to depart, but Maria intercepted me with a reassuring touch. "Don't worry, Ashley. Everything is arranged," she assured me with a gentle smile. Nodding in gratitude, I left my father-in-law's abode, returning to the tumultuous atmosphere of my home, where Kevin's rage had left a trail of destruction. The room bore the scars of Kevin's tantrum, strewn with wreckage as he drunkenly bellowed his intentions. "I'm divorcing you, the barren one. Emily will be my new wife," he proclaimed triumphantly, reveling in the supposed consent my parents had given. So, Kevin had indeed chosen Emily. My parents had always catered to her whims, even at the cost of my marriage. They didn't object. Kevin had been well aware of my infertility when he married me, exploiting me for his convenience. Yet it was Emily who desired Kevin, and my parents tacitly condoned their affair. Perhaps now craving grandchildren, they saw Emily's potential pregnancy as an opportunity to unite her with Kevin. Such manipulative machinations were within my parents' capability. When Emily divorced previously, she relinquished custody of her child, deeming them unattractive due to their lack of attachment to her. Emily was self-absorbed, prioritizing her own desires above all else, even her own child. My heart ached for the potential plight of the child born to Emily and Kevin, envisaging a future overshadowed by their self-centeredness. Would such selfish parents be capable of fostering genuine happiness in their offspring? I pondered. Kevin, oblivious to my concerns, derided me, urging me to depart as we finalized our divorce proceedings. "I'll pay you alimony, you worthless," he sneered, oblivious to the fact that it would be my parents providing financial support. With a heavy heart, I signed the divorce papers, gathered my essentials, and bid farewell to the house. Choosing to forego seeking solace at my parents' abode, I sought refuge in the comforting embrace of Mike and Maria. I had confided in them about my suspicions regarding Kevin and Emily's affair, a notion Mike reluctantly entertained. Sensing the urgency of the situation, Maria had already begun preparations for my arrival. As I stepped into their home, the shy son peeked out briefly before retreating into hiding. He bore a striking resemblance to Maria and exuded an endearing shyness. Gathering around the table, we deliberated on our plans for the future. Maria, ever the pragmatic thinker, had secured a living arrangement for me, ensuring my safety and well-being amidst the tumult of divorce. With gratitude swelling in my heart, I found solace in the unwavering support of Mike and Maria, determined to navigate the uncertain road ahead with their guidance. I settled into the company housing provided by Maria's interior design firm, preparing to embark on a new chapter as an employee there. Despite my apprehension about entering the workforce for the first time, Maria's reassuring smile offered a beacon of encouragement. "Don't worry, Ashley, you got this," she reassured me with unwavering confidence. Under Maria's nurturing guidance and Mike's administrative support, I severed all ties with my family following the divorce. Mike took charge of informing my former father-in-law of our decision, emphasizing our collective disassociation from Kevin. Though saddened by the turn of events, my former father-in-law understood and extended an open invitation for me to continue visiting, now that Kevin was no longer a part of our lives. Thus, I formally liberated myself from the shackles of marriage and embraced newfound independence. With alimony from Kevin and severance funds from my parents, I embarked on my journey towards self-sufficiency. Refusing to rely on my parents' financial support any longer, I returned the severance money untouched, determined to forge my path independently. Embracing my role at Maria's firm, I began by learning the ropes under the tutelage of one of her subordinates, Stephen. A jovial companion around my age, Stephen imparted his knowledge between his hectic schedule, fostering a sense of camaraderie as we navigated the intricacies of the job together. One morning, I arrived at the office early and took the initiative to tidy up, much to Stephen's surprise. "Wow, the office looks immaculate," he exclaimed, pitching in to assist with the cleaning. When I offered an apologetic explanation, he tilted his head in confusion. "Why apologize when you've done nothing wrong? We're equals here. We work together," he remarked, his words a revelation. It was the first time someone had acknowledged me as an equal. With my history of feeling inferior due to my frailty and inability to conceive, I had always carried a sense of burden. Yet Stephen, with his competence, should have held a higher position, yet he dismissed my concerns with a laugh, emphasizing our equality through collaboration. It was a humbling realization, encountering such kindness and generosity. As we conversed, Maria arrived a bit earlier than usual, casting an observant eye over Stephen and me with a knowing smile. "Ah, Stephen, have you finally gotten to know Ashley better?" she teased, causing Stephen to blush furiously. Perplexed by Maria's comment, I remained clueless until she leaned in to whisper, "Stephen has been wanting to speak with you alone. He's been waiting for the opportunity." Stephen, flustered by Maria's revelation, muttered, "Director, we agreed you wouldn't mention that," before hastily excusing himself to the break room. With a playful slap on my shoulder, Maria left me standing there, utterly bewildered. It wasn't until the realization dawned upon me, coloring my cheeks with embarrassment, that Maria quipped, "Stephen is quite the gentleman. It seems he's taken a liking to you since the day you stepped into the office." "I may be divorced, and I certainly have my flaws," Maria admitted, casting a meaningful glance at Stephen, who stood beside her, presenting her with a freshly brewed cafe latte. She then tenderly patted my bowed head before disclosing a surprising revelation. "You see, the son Maria and Mike have been raising isn't actually their biological child," she confessed, her words carrying a weight of sincerity. "He's a relative's child, taken in after his parents tragically perished in an accident. Essentially, he's been adopted into our family." Maria and Mike had made the conscious decision to prioritize raising a child who had lost everything. As Maria spoke, her gaze shifting between Stephen and me, her voice resonated with warmth and compassion. "When our son first called us Dad and Mom, I couldn't help but shed tears," she revealed, her emotions palpable. "Parenting isn't solely defined by biological ties. Even with blood relations, there are instances where parents and children remain distant. But our son chose us as his parents, not by obligation, but by genuine affection. To me, that's far more precious than any bond forged solely through blood." With a gentle sip of the cafe latte prepared by Stephen, I found solace in its warm and soothing aroma, the tension in my heart easing with each comforting sip. Fast forward about 3 years from that moment, and my life had taken a significant turn. I found love again and tied the knot with Stephen just a year after we embarked on our journey together. Yet, when I once again found myself apologizing for my inability to conceive, Stephen's reaction caught me off guard. "Ashley, there's no need for apologies," he chided gently, his tone laced with warmth. "Would you expect me to kneel down and apologize for not being able to have children?" His words resonated deeply within me, dispelling the weight of guilt that I had carried for so long. With a shake of my head, I found solace in his laughter, his cheerful demeanor a balm to my soul. His simple reassurance became a beacon of hope, illuminating a path forward that I had never dared to imagine. Despite remarrying, I remained connected with Maria, Mike, and my former father-in-law. Their unwavering support and genuine happiness for my newfound happiness warmed my heart. Today, we found ourselves on a short trip, exploring a tourist spot that Maria had once described as delightful during her own family visits. As I sat in a chair, patiently awaiting Stephen's return from the restroom, I savored a moment of tranquility at a nearby tea shop, grateful for the love and companionship that now graced my life. Suddenly, a familiar voice pierced through the tranquil ambience. "Ashley," it called out, shattering the peaceful moment. Turning around, I found myself face to face with Kevin, my ex-husband, accompanied by my sister Emily. Emily, adorned in heavy makeup, still possessed her trademark beauty, though it seemed somewhat exaggerated. "You're still moping around, traveling alone after the divorce," she remarked, unaware of my recent remarriage. Ignoring their presence, I eagerly awaited my husband's return from the restroom. Upon his arrival, my husband, perplexed by the unexpected company, apologized for the crowded restroom. His puzzled expression spoke volumes, silently questioning the identity of our uninvited guests. Desperate to depart from the uncomfortable encounter, I urged my husband to leave, hoping to avoid further confrontation. Yet Emily's derisive tone cut through the air as she mocked me for finding another partner despite my perceived shortcomings. Attempting to maintain composure, my husband intervened, asserting his role as my spouse. "I am Ashley's husband," he declared firmly, his gaze unwavering. and her name is now Ashley Stevens. Furthermore, we are expecting a child. With a gentle pat on my belly, he unveiled our joyous news, leaving Kevin visibly pale. Emily, however, responded with a sneer, casting doubt on the well-being of our unborn child. In a steely tone, my husband responded, Ashley is currently expecting her second child. Our eldest daughter is a healthy 2-year-old, currently in the care of my parents. Kevin's complexion drained at the revelation, mirroring my own astonishment. The news of my second pregnancy had initially caught me off guard. I vividly recall my disbelief when the doctor at the maternity clinic confirmed my ability to conceive, contrary to the beliefs instilled in me by my parents. My parents had always led me to believe that I was unable to bear children, a notion I had unquestioningly accepted. Yet it turned out that my body was perfectly capable of conception. When I shared the news with my husband, he was elated. However, it left me wondering why I had never conceived during my marriage to Kevin. Seeking answers, I confided in Maria, who, after a moment of contemplation, voiced a troubling hypothesis. According to Maria, there was a possibility that my parents had deceived me all along. It was likely that they had discouraged me from having children, fearing the potential complications that could arise from my fragile health. In fact, they might have gone as far as instructing Kevin to use contraception to prevent pregnancy. It was a shocking revelation, one that shed light on the manipulative tactics employed by my own family. Having remarried, Stephen and I welcomed a healthy baby girl into our family, followed by a son during my second pregnancy, both of whom thrived. Yet, despite the joy of motherhood, I couldn't shake off the lingering burden of guilt stemming from my parents' deceitful machinations. As Stephen and I prepared to depart, Emily's cruel words pierced through the air, her smirk laden with malice. Had terminated Kevin's pregnancy. It was a botched attempt, she jeered callously, admitting to aborting the fetus due to potential disabilities. Kevin, desperate and pleading, implored me to relinquish one of my children, fearing he would be disowned otherwise. Emily's laughter echoed with malicious glee. Fueled by rage, I was on the verge of erupting, but Stephen's firm grip on my arm halted me. With a contemptuous glare at Kevin and Emily, Stephen's voice dripped with disdain. Save your vile remarks for your own demise, he spat out, his disgust palpable. Without another word, he guided me away, refusing to dignify their cruelty with a response. I followed suit, casting a final disdainful glance over my shoulder, feeling as though I had glimpsed the depths of depravity reserved for their unborn child. In due time, I welcomed a baby boy into the world, adding to the challenges of caring for my 2-year-old daughter and newborn son. Despite the demands of motherhood, my husband stood by my side, offering his unwavering support. Meanwhile, my ex-husband Kevin found himself deserted by Emily, left to fend for himself as his financial woes mounted. Rejected by my former father-in-law and brother-in-law when he sought assistance, Kevin's predicament left them dumbfounded. As for my selfish parents and sister Emily, their actions eventually led to their downfall. Emily's reckless pursuits, including affairs with married men, resulted in numerous lawsuits and hefty alimony payments. Gradually, her fortune dwindled, and her reputation crumbled. Unable to intervene, my parents watched helplessly as Emily's actions drained their assets. To compound matters, Emily's ill-advised dealings with a dubious company left her ensnared in a web of debt, pursued by relentless creditors. My parents and Emily have fallen on hard times, but their plight no longer weighs on me. They are mere blood ties, estranged from my true family, my loving husband and our 2 precious children. Their well-being is my sole concern now. As I tended to our son's needs, my husband delighted in play with our daughter, their laughter filling our home. Observing their joyous interaction, a wave of gratitude washed over me. Caught up in the moment, I found myself smiling uncontrollably. My husband, noticing my expression, inquired, "What's on your mind, Ashley?" "I'm just overwhelmed with happiness to be with you, Stephen," I confessed. With a playful grin, he teased, "Well, you're Mrs. Stephen too." His light-hearted remark elicited laughter from all of us, filling our hearts with warmth and contentment.